Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
As some of you know, I get out there and talk from time to time, and depending upon what the conversation is or what the topic is, I will build in time at the end where people can ask questions, because networking, building relationships is kind of foreign for a lot of people. I don't think it should be, because we're all really good at it in reality. But one of the questions I generally get is related to going to events and having small talk conversations. That's can be a hang up for people getting out and networking. I just don't know what to say. And I always tell people, it's not really about what you have to say, it's about what you get the other person to say. And that can trip them up even more. It's like, well, how do you get somebody talking? And it's like, wow, I have to answer this question. I have to answer this question. And it really just comes down to curiosity. And so today I have on the program, courtesy of Todd Birch, Molly Ketchum, who is, I won't say an expert in curiosity, but you are curiously really devoted to curiosity, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Someone the other day called me the Curiosity Queen, which I
Okay.
thought had a nice little ring to it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Um, Curious, how'd you get into curiosity? I won't keep doing that, but I'm done. I'm done doing cute little things like that. Maybe. So.
I'm a keynote speaker, and I wasn't born into keynote speaking. I spent 20 years in the hospitality and meetings industry. And when I was trying to determine what it was that I really wanted to do after 20 years, I had to ask myself a lot of questions, and I had a lot of fun doing that. I came to the conclusion of professional speaking, and I got into professional speaking. It was a story. It was about, experience that I had in my 20s and how professional speakers changed my life, and I wanted to be that person for someone else. So that's how I got into it. But once I got into it, I had to figure out what I was going to talk about. I knew I
Yeah.
wanted to help people in some way, but in
Yeah.
what way? So I had to find the intersection between what I was good at and what the market needed and what I was passionate about as well. And the thing that I landed on is that I am innately curious. I have a feeling, Frank, that you and I are very similar.
Yeah.
I a great listener because I love to learn about other people's perspectives and their life and
Right.
their story. So I realize I ask a lot of questions, and I ask the questions because I truly want to understand and I want to know. So the desire to know is curiosity, and that's where I landed, and that's what I do. I show other people, I teach other people, especially leaders and sales organizations, how to use curiosity to create a meaningful connection with someone, which leads to trust and influence.
Yeah. No, we are kindred spirits. I am endlessly fascinated by people's stories, and how they got to their place in time. I mean, you have a story, and again, you heard my lead in. It's like people love to tell their story. And I am truly interested in what people have to say. Just one, because I'm interested. I do a lot of writing. I've written a couple novels. I've written three now, and I'll use those stories in there. I'll kind of weave them in. It's like, okay, what's a neat thing? My wife will say, "Where'd you come up with that?" Well, somebody told me. And But at any rate, yeah, I'm so totally fascinated with people's stories, and I think we think that people have these very vanilla lives.
Mm.
Went to high school, went to college, studied to be a doctor. They're a doctor. They're married, picket fence, three kids, got a dog. You know,
Hmm.
that's that's not the norm.
The question that you get asked about networking and, what do I do and how can I ask questions? I think the biggest challenge is the challenge it is for us to get out of our own heads and into someone else's inner world because we think so much about how am I coming across? What do they think about me? What do I have to say that's interesting? And we think we need to be all of that, which prevents us from being curious about another person. So I like to share that the first step is really getting curious about yourself first, because once you learn all of those things about yourself, yes, you know your history and your
Yeah.
experiences, but once you learn your values and what motivates you and your biggest stressors and the operating system and your personality strengths and all of that, then it's easier for you to put that to the side and step into someone else's world when you're in a conversation with them. That's the change. That was the catalyst that helped make networking easier for me when I got to know myself.
I find that I will use curiosity to get at information to try and find things where I have in common. And once you have that, oh, you've got kids, I've got kids. You like soccer, I like soccer. You're from Wisconsin, I grew up near Wisconsin. You like the Packers, I like the Packers, you know?
Yeah.
And that just warms things up.
Yes. Small talk. It is. It's finding those common things with another person, or it could be an admiration that you have. Maybe you
Yeah,
are talking with someone and you're not finding anything in common. Well, what is it something that they did that you admire, that you respect, or like,
yeah.
wow, that's really amazing. I think you can find a connection over that too.
Occasionally, occasionally I'll have a conversation with somebody where it's just dead, right? It's just I don't like sports, and I love sports. You know, my wife loves sports, my kids love sports, but it was just like, yeah, I don't like sports. I sense politically we weren't aligned. I could just it was everything. It was kind of like,
hmm
oh, it was nice meeting you. It was the end of it. The- do people ever give you pushback about feeling nosy? I get that from time to time.
Yes, because there is that, I want to say misconception that
Right?
asking questions is being nosy. It's really, I think it depends on how you do it. Here's where technique comes in. It
Yeah,
is
please.
your tone of voice, it is your presence, it is your facial expressions that say, I genuinely want to know, instead of tell me, like this is what I need, like
Yeah.
whatever, you know. I did learn another lesson. This when I first discovered the power of asking questions to learn about another person. I Before I learned all the right strategies and techniques, I got on the phone with someone and I wanted to know like her history, her experience. I wanted to learn from her, but I didn't preface that at all. I just dove in with
Mm,
questions, with no explanation. And after three questions, she stopped and asked me why I wanted to know all of this information. And I was
right.
like, oh man, I never said I'm curious. So explaining why you want to know, just a little phrase,
Yeah.
gosh, I've struggled with this, tell me about, right? Or in my experience, I've done this. What about you? If you preface it with just a little phrase and then ask the question, then the listener has a chance to think, okay, I know where they're coming from.
Yeah. No, I think that's it is there is a finesse to it, if you will, to do it right. Um, but it does warm things up in a big way. And again, I'm always looking for something where we have something in common and we can kind of go and have a conversation around that.
hmm And if you have that thing in common, right, and you are engaged in this conversation where you are maintaining eye contact, especially at a networking event, gosh, there's so many distractions.
Yeah.
It's so easy for you to look at whoever just laughed really loud, or the server that dropped the tray, or your phone just buzzed in your pocket. But as soon as you do that and you break eye contact, then the listeners, your conversation partner is thinking, well, they don't really care.
Yeah.
And then your questions may come across as more aggressive.
More aggressive or hollow or shallow. I remember talking to somebody once and they were, oh, never mind. I'm listening, Frank. And they're packing, I'm at their desk. They're packing their bag and going on a trip. I got to do this, oh, they're not listening.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to kind of get up and say, okay, we'll just do this another time or maybe never do it again.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, in your work, do you talk about elicitation? Are you familiar with elicitation?
I have heard about elicitation.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. Well, I have a episode coming out next week where I talk about it. It's fascinating. If you get a chance to look into it, um, not that my episode's fascinating, but the whole notion, what elicitation is for the listeners, it's kind of a preview for next week. Um, it, it's the strategy of making statements that pull information out of people. And to me, that's just, you know, to me, it's fascinating. You can kind of throw something out at somebody. Wow, you must be really busy, and then having them just kind of fill in the blank. Or, um, I bet you have a lot of great stories um, uh, uh, being a professional speaker, or being an event planner. I bet you have a lot of great stories. I bet you have a huge network, and then just letting them just go from there. So.
Hmm.
I happened to pick up a YouTube video, or it came into my feed. This guy Chase Hughes, I actually had him on here, but he's a body language expert. You can look at people's body language and say, okay, yeah, Bill Clinton's lying, or this person's hiding something. And he was talking about elicitation. It's like, oh my gosh. Um,
I do find it very interesting. The strategies that I have learned about it seems to be in a more, I want to say, similar to what you were referencing, knowing when someone's lying.
yeah,
And there is definitely a market for that. There is a need, I suppose, people who need that. But in my work, it's all about creating a meaningful connection with someone.
right.
And I teach that come at that conversation. So I appreciate you asking me this because it's the first time I think I've tried to put it into words. But my strategy is to come at the conversation with genuine desire to connect with someone
Yeah,
and to share that energy, be present with one another, be on that same, see if you can match their vibration. Our bodies are made up of vibration. We're just energy, right?
yeah,
And someone else could be operating or vibrating on a different frequency. If you can come into their world, sense their energy, their tone, their body language, right? And
yeah.
match that frequency. And you can really create a strong connection with someone. The elicitation concept seems to be built on a little bit of
Interrogation, interrogation.
yes, it's almost like lying ahead of time or deceiving or falsely,
Yeah,
putting a statement out there
right.
so that you can get the information that you want from the other person. So I think that is a line between what that is and what I talk
No,
about.
and yeah, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Um, to me, it was kind of fascinating because I'm like really into the science of, okay,
Yeah.
why do we do the things we do? And, um, but in looking into it, getting on ChatGPT, getting on Google, a lot of the resources and reference materials that I found were FBI, right? FBI
Mm,
related. So they are interrogating CIA. These are things that they're doing. And this guy, Chase Hughes, he does a lot of work with, um, you know, security organizations like that, where it would be, where were you on January 23rd kind of a thing that would set somebody, well, why are you asking? They would just, that's a signal just to shut up.
hmm.
Um, but if you know, I'm trying to think of what a good statement might be. You know, you were probably watching the Browns on January, whatever. The Browns don't play in January. What am I doing? What am I saying?
Right. And then
Uh,
we naturally want to correct you because we
yes.
want to be the one who knows more, right? And
Right.
knows things. So,
Yep.
yeah. So I see a market for it for
Yeah.
sure. It is interesting.
Well, I'll play with it. I watched a 15-minute video on. I'm hardly an expert. I'm fascinated by why people do things and, trying to get people to respond to things. Um, your main area of expertise is the CARA framework. Is it CARA? CARA. It's an acronym for curiosity, attunement, resonance, and amplification. So you want to share a little about that with us?
Sure, yes. I pronounce it cara only because the Spanish translation for cara is face. So
Okay.
not only is it a great acronym, but it's also a reminder for us to bring our full face, our full humanity and
Okay.
presence to every conversation, every interaction. So the cara, I do call it the cara code for unlocking influence because this is what I discovered, and since you love the science
I do.
of what happens, I went on a little journey to find similarities and parallels between conversation and music. I play the piano. I'm a classically trained pianist, and I found a great conversation to be very similar to listening to a great piece of music.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Right? Because if you think about it, you know those songs that give you chills, like leave you with
Right.
that, and they stay in your head all day.
Yeah.
You can also have a conversation with someone where you have such a great moment of shared connection with them. It
Right.
leaves that elated, maybe chilled feeling for you, and afterwards you're thinking, "Wow, that was a really great conversation."
Yeah.
So I went on I dove into the research and I found that the brain releases dopamine in a similar kind of arc pattern of anticipation and release in music as same as in a conversation.
Mm.
So in a conversation, the opening note is curiosity. It is a meaningful question. That's the first step in the framework. It's not to ask, how was your weekend? It's
Right.
to ask, what was the best part of your weekend? Something a little more, a little deeper, a little more meaningful. And as they are responding to you, because you've asked this great question, not only are they talking about themselves, which we all love to do,
Sure.
but they're also thinking in the back of their mind, does this really matter? Am I that important? It's the anticipation of how we are going to respond, what we're going to say when we come back to that response. And while they're answering your question, you are attuning to them. You are listening to them. You are leaning in. You are nodding your head like you're doing right now. You're giving little auditory cues that you're with them. You're following along. That's called attunement.
Right. Now,
That
I'm not a music person, so this doesn't necessarily resonate with me. That's your next one. It doesn't but I know what you're saying when you have those conversations and you get into, I call it getting into the zone. It's like, we are hitting it off, right? I think a lot of people would, but anyway, please continue. Attunement. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It is a good feeling, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah. Oh,
oh, this
yeah.
is fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the attunement is when you are truly tuned into the other person as they're talking. Then comes that moment when they've finished answering your question and you respond in a way that resonates with them, with what they've said, with their vibrational frequency. It is I see where you're coming from. Or, oh, that makes sense. Or, how interesting. Or maybe you share a laugh together because it was something funny and you found it funny too, and now you're laughing together. Or it's I really admire what that you just went through that, or you know, had that experience. And in that moment of your response, they think, he gets me. She understands. I feel like I'm validated. I feel seen, heard, valued, all of those things. Those It's that moment, that innate human need we have as to feel belonging, right? Like
Yeah.
I belong. I'm here now. They're with me. They get me. So that's resonance. And then the last step, amplification, is just to keep it going. It's to, oh, and I didn't mention the dopamine. Okay, so the dopamine was increasing during that attunement phase, the anticipation. There's a certain part of your brain that releases dopamine even more during the anticipation of something than that resonance, that moment of release when we come together in alignment. But it's a different part of the brain that releases dopamine during that. So all of this big dopamine like hit and release, and then amplification. Like let's keep it
Mm.
going. Tell me more. Follow up with a follow-up question. Follow up the next time you see them. Ask them about that same thing that you talked about. Just keep it going. Amplify it.
Well, it's interesting when you were talking about resonance, you made a couple statements following up with what they had to say. Oh, you know, I really admire you, or something like that. In a way, that's kind of elicitation, right? Because wow, that must have been a lot of work, right? Or something like,
Mm,
and then, so I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just,
there
again,
you go.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting point, Frank. Yeah, you're right.
Um, but yeah, we were talking before we hit record about small talk and the power of small talk. And when I talk on the science, I always talk about small talk on a study that was done in Poland. Put a young woman on the street. That sounds horrible, but they put a researcher on the street. She was a woman, and was tasked with going up and talking to other young women, or other women, all by themselves. No men. Let's leave. Just reduce all the variables. And 100 women done at random. One, she would some of the time she would just go up and say, "Would you buy a candle from me?" And in the other, in the experimental piece of it, that's the control. The experimental piece would be, "How's your day?" And you would
Mm.
respond, "I'm having a great day," or, "It's been a rough day. I'm sorry you're having a rough day. Would you buy a candle from me?" And in the control, where they went up to 50 people and just, "Would you buy a candle?" She sold three. And when she went up to, with that small talk conversation, really the smallest conversation you can really have, right? Uh, she sold 11. So it was like a fourfold increase just by having that conversation. And they explained, and when listening to you talk, I further get it. Um, Talked about one of the things our brains do is heuristic processing. We're looking for shortcuts to trust people. It's the most, you know, you trust friends, you trust a spouse. It it may not be life or death in the short term anymore, but it's happiness or unhappiness, right? Can be life or
Mhm.
death. And so when you start talking about dopamine, it's that whole study starts to, okay, something's going on in the brain. Something,
Hmm.
what's causing this? What causes us to trip that, what's called heuristic processing? What's causing that? And it's probably dopamine related. So I will look into it. So,
Yeah, please do. I do think it's fascinating, and for so many years I just listened. And I leaned in, and I truly wanted to know. And when you want to know, you're fully present. Right.
mhm.
And so it was just wonderful to learn, like there is some magic, like the magic is real. There's science behind the magic,
Yeah.
and it's a process, and it is a thing, and it works. It does. It builds trust. When you really you're fully present and listening, that is when you're building trust.
And the beautiful thing about it is that the people you're listening to think you're just awesome. They just, wow, she is so fascinating. She didn't say two things,
I know.
right?
Have you been in one of those conversations where you purely listened and then they
Yeah.
walked away and they were like, "Hey, this was a great talk. Thank you."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's shift gears here as we kind of wind down. You're a professional speaker. Is that all you do? You do other things? Do coaching, workshops? I guess here's the green light. Tell me about your business. Tell us about your business and how people can get a hold of you.
Oh, I love it. Thank you. I do primarily speak for corporations and associations. Leaders and sales teams are my primary market, but really, truly anyone who wants to have a better conversation and build trust in doing that. My company is called the Curious Connector Company, and I do have the speaking that I do, and then we also have group masterminds. So it's kind of like a small group coaching
Hmm.
that takes it's a deeper dive. Anyone can join this, and you can go to my website mollyketchum.com to learn more. It's called the Connection Lab. And it's a deep dive into really how do you listen attentively? What kind of questions do you ask? How do you respond in a way that continues to build that trust and leaves a positive, lasting impression on someone? I have a connection lab that focuses on the professional, the business professional, and a connection lab for parents because
Oh.
I'm very passionate about parents who want to build a meaningful relationship with their child or with their children, really learning how to use curiosity
Mm.
to do that. Frank, have you heard? There was something I heard on social media. I can't remember who was saying it, but they said the best way for parents to connect with their kids is to remember what it was like to be a kid.
I agree. Yeah.
Right? And so there's
Yeah.
just using that curiosity and going into their world and being like, that's what it was like to be 10 years old. Now you
Yeah.
understand a little bit better. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. My kids are all grown now, so I wish I would have. I think we did okay. They're 20 something now, and it's kind of that age where they're coming back and they get you, you
Mhm.
get them. Um, so yeah,
It
all the
is
fun things.
nice. And Frank, you can still use curiosity to remember what it was like to be a 20
Yeah,
something.
oh no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I was talking to my daughter the other day, and it's like, oh yeah, that just reminds me of this. So
Yeah.
totally. Best way to get hold of you through your website, mollyketchum.com. If they
Yes.
want.
And
Okay.
it is Molly Ketchum with an AM at the end,
Okay.
which is not the usual spelling. So I just have to throw it out there.
Well, I will put it in the show notes the correct way. So
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time today. What I love about podcasting is I can be curious and I can learn. So thank you.
I love it. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AMSPIRIT.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.